coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Realities with the Rebel Broker. My name's Robert Whitelaw, and I am the Rebel Broker, licensed real estate broker in the state of California, member of the National Association of Realtors. But please do not hold that against me. I am a licensed real estate broker right here in California, in Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, helping buyers and sellers achieve their real estate goals for the last 30 years, and wanted to come to you today and offer you some information on how to get started as a buyer. Now, this is a topic that we've hit lots and lots on the podcast over the years. And from time to time, believe it or not, the advice changes, particularly when it comes down to the actual searching part. But I thought I would break it down to some core steps. This would be, if there was a book out there on how to get started as a real estate buyer, this would be chapter 1, page 1, paragraph 1. Where do you start? Where do you even begin to get yourself moving in achieving your goals of buying real estate? Now, this is going to be aimed at folks who are looking to just buy that home. I would suggest, if you have yet to buy a home, obviously this is going to be great advice for you. If you've already got a home and you're looking at potentially selling that one and moving into a new one, I think this is still good advice for you. And even for some of my investor clients out there who I've talked to who are relative newcomers to real estate investing, this is advice that I think can help just about anyone. So let's go ahead and run it down. The first step in the process of getting yourself a new home or an investment property is deciding on the area that you're interested in. Now, this doesn't need to be a specific neighborhood. Typically, then the only reason you really want to pick a general area, aside from just you narrowing down your search, is also to be able to tell that to any prospective lenders that you might decide to work with who are going to help you finance the purchase of this property. The amount that it's going to cost you to borrow money can vary from location to location. So if you can at least break it down to a county, that's usually good enough. Of course, within counties, zip codes are going to be a thing. So if you really know where you're going to be looking, or if you're kind of casting a wide net, just communicate that to your lender, which is what we're going to get to next. So step 2 in this process, get approved for a loan with that area in mind. Now, this is a little bit more complicated than just saying, look into a loan. There are lots and lots of different paths you can follow in terms of getting a loan. But for this initial assessment, for this very first, I just want to know how much I can afford to borrow engagement, you can really talk to anyone. There's going to be online lenders, your bank, if for their mortgage department, you can get pre-approved. You can usually get pre-approved on the phone. You can usually get pre-approved very quickly. So it's really just a way of understanding what your credit worthiness is going to be, or your budget is going to be for the home that you're going to try to purchase. And you want to establish that first. You don't want to start searching and discover that the number you've been using is too high, because you may end up discovering that you've fallen in love with certain properties at a price point that now you know you can't afford. So getting that loan information out of the way right up front is not only going to be helpful in terms of helping focus your search, but it's also going to be a big relief for you, because you're not going to fall in love with something that you discover that you can't really manage given the loan that you're set up for. Now, within getting approved for the loan is a much bigger deal. And I always suggest to people, you need to determine how much you will qualify to borrow at this very first step. But down the line, you're also going to want to figure out in your head how much you're still willing to spend. Don't assume that you should fully borrow the maximum amount that you've been approved for. It's definitely not a requirement. And if you figure out, hey, while on paper I can absolutely qualify for this loan that will have me making such and such a mortgage payment every month, I would really rather have a buffer. I would rather have some money to save every month. So calculate that in terms of your limitations, and just use that approval level that you've gotten as the ceiling. Consider that the absolute most you would possibly borrow, but I always suggest to my buyers that you shoot somewhere below that. Go for some place that's going to give you the flexibility to have some cash to put aside each month to take on whatever might come your way, including updates you might have to make to that brand new home of yours. Now, the next step in terms of ironing out your lending. And this isn't something you necessarily need to do right away unless you are ready to really seriously shop for a home. In other words, you're looking to buy within the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days. This is something you're going to start doing actively. Consult with a variety of lenders. Don't simply go to your bank. Don't go to the bank that someone referred you to. You want to shop for this like you would shop for any other product, because that's really what you're doing. You are shopping for the money product. You are renting money. So figure out what the terms and conditions are going to be from different providers. And I suggest that you hit your bank, whatever bank you bank with. Typically, that's one of the big names like a Wells Fargo or a Bank of America. Talk to their mortgage people and find out what kind of loan they can get you. And the numbers you want to know are not just what's your monthly payment going to be. You want to know the term, the interest rates, points, any other things that are going to get tacked on here as fees that you might have to pay. And I want you to make sure and keep track of that. Now, once you've done that, next, try a local credit union or any credit union. You can do a Google search and track down tons of different credit unions. A local one is usually the best bet, but you want to go with ones that are highly regarded or well considered by those who use those credit unions, because you're frequently going to find that those places have some amazing lending deals for you. Now, you will have to open an account with a credit union, but that's not a problem. That's very easy to do and usually only requires you putting a token amount of money into an account in the credit union to get started. If you have a professional credit union that relates to your job, maybe you were in the military and you have access to a military credit union, that all falls under this category. Make sure to check with those to see what sort of benefit you can get, what sort of product you can get from those particular lenders. Next, try a loan broker. Now, a loan broker is not the person who's going to actually lend you the money. A loan broker is someone who keeps track of a bunch of different loan products and can at the same time hit a whole bunch of them at the same time to try to find you the best product. You're also going to want to find out how that loan broker gets paid. Are you paying them a fee? How are they getting compensated? Because you want to make sure you're not overpaying for that loan product that you're finding. Next, local lenders or banks. So not the big box banks that everyone knows the name of. Talk to your local lenders. And what's interesting about local lenders is often you're going to find you're going to get a much more personalized experience. If you're talking to a Wells Fargo or a Bank of America, they plug numbers into a computer and do what the computer tells them. While that is also to some degree going to be true in all lenders, you do tend to see a little bit more of a hands-on approach, a little bit more of a get human eyes on your request and actually have some human interaction with a lender when you're dealing with a local bank. And the benefit of doing it with a local bank is you can then usually start to establish relationships that you can use in the future, whether that's for a business loan or car loans or whatever else might happen in your life where you need to get access to cash. Building credit with a local bank can often be a much more advantageous way to get access to funds later that you might need, including that renovation you might want to make to the house after you've owned it for a couple of years. Next, the online option. Now, online works great. I think that online lending is a great tool. I think that not only are actual online lending institutions advantageous for you to consider, but I also think that online tools to search for lenders are also good. Now, one tool that I like comes from smartasset.com. It's a tool I've used before that I have shown on my YouTube channel before. So feel free to use that as a way to get a search going for a possible mortgage that might interest you. This is an example of a search in Morgan Hill, assuming a purchase price of $700,000, down payment of 20%, 30-year and 15-year fixed compared, and you can see we get results for both of these, and with rates at 6.25 and 7.898. A huge variation there, obviously, between those two things. And Quicken Loans is an online lender, so you've got some options here. Usually you're going to get more choices. It's interesting that we're not getting more choices with this, but man, lending is getting tighter right now. So your mileage may vary depending on what zip code you use, what location you use. You may see different options available. Okay. Next, now, as I mentioned before, once you have your loan approval in mind, you've got a number in mind, sit down and do the math, as I said, and understand the difference between how much you want to spend versus how much you can spend. You don't need to reach the maximum of what you can spend. Given the kind of economic situation that we're in right now, I think it's particularly smart for buyers to focus more on the want to spend versus the can spend. Again, having a buffer every single month is going to do nothing but help your financial situation and help you grow your wealth while still allowing you to purchase your home. Maybe you're not going to be able to get the exact home that you want under those circumstances, but with any luck and with a good amount of searching, you might be able to find one that you can enhance to give you all the things you originally wanted at a lower price point than if you had paid the extra amount to buy that home that had everything that you wanted. So just keep that in mind. That's a conversation you can have with your real estate professional, whoever you choose to work with when you start searching for a home. All right, next, creating automated searches. I think this is an important one, and in some ways, it's also a step to perhaps put above some of these others. I've always been a big advocate of more knowledge is more power, and being able to understand how the market is moving and what's happening with it is something that's worth your time. Now, as if you were to select me as your real estate professional, I would obviously bring what I've been observing in the market. Every day I'm checking what's happening in markets all through the areas I serve of Gilroy, San Martin, Morgan Hill, South San Jose. All these areas are areas that I keep up with in terms of what the new listings are, what has sold. And of course, I have the tools to do an in-depth research dive into what's happening in any market that you're particularly interested in. So while you can delegate that to your chosen real estate partner, it's also good for you to have at least a little bit of ground truth sort of stored away in your head about what's been going on in the markets you're most interested in buying in. So maybe as a more casual step, something you do, perhaps before you do anything else, you go up onto a website and you create an automated search for the type of home you're interested in with at least the minimum beds and baths that you're looking for, with what you might estimate your maximum budget would be, just to get a feeling for what's coming on the market, how fast things are selling, perhaps even putting in a number that's above what you believe you'd want to spend or would qualify to spend, just so you're seeing how quickly homes are selling in those various price points. It's a good place for you to get some knowledge about the market without ever having to leave the comfort of your home. Now, first, in terms of giving you very specific examples of what I'm talking about, I suggest that you go to realtor.com in order for you to get the information that you're looking for. Now, the reason that I do that is not because I have any huge loyalty to the National Association of Realtors or the Realtor organization in terms of their search tool. The reason I do that is because whether you realize it or not all listings that real estate agents enter into the MLS system will get into all the other tools, including Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, all of these other aggregate sites that get data from the multiple listing services across the country. It's not automatic that they get the listings. There are options, at least in my multiple listing service, as a broker and as an agent, I have options on whether or not a listing that I enter will get shared with aggregation websites. In fact, to share my listings with some aggregation sites, I have to jump through a whole lot of extra hoops. And if it comes to jumping through extra hoops, you can bet most agents aren't doing it, particularly technology-related hoops. So I wouldn't go with any of the more obscure websites in terms of having those be your primary search tool. I would strongly suggest you do realtor.com because that is the most sent to site in terms of MLS aggregation, in terms of listings that are in the MLS ending up on a website that you can access easily. So head on over to realtor.com. As you can see here, I've got Morgan Hill selected. You can view this with a map overview. You can then put in things you're interested in terms of what you're looking for. Maybe you only want a single family residential home with 3 or more beds, with 2 or more baths, and you don't want to spend more than $600,000. Not a lot of options at that price point. Let's see if we boost this up a little bit to say what's probably more reasonable of 1.2. And there you go. You can see those are the homes that are showing up. Now you can go and save that search, and it's ready to go. If you've already created your account, it's going to send a regular update on what's happening with those properties to the email that you've provided. And it's that simple. And you'll be able to get those updates and see what the homes are listing for, what they're tending to sell for. And one thing I really like about realtor.com in terms of managing your search is that at a glance, you can see which homes have had price reductions or price increases. If you look at the screen, you can see a lot of green arrows pointing down. That means it's had a recent price reduction. Red arrows pointing up mean the price has been raised. And we are no longer in a market where we're seeing those prices getting raised as we did just a year ago, when it was pretty regular to see homes getting their prices raised. So consider that as a very easy to adopt tool. No one's going to start pestering you. The realtor website does not automatically give your information to anybody unless you ask for realtor.com to reach out to a realtor to send you information. So this is a way for you to do it without getting bothered by real estate agents. If you get to the point where you are seriously searching for a home and you want to find the home that you are going to buy, and it's a more near-term goal for you, I strongly suggest that you talk to a real estate professional. The reason is because the MLS search that they are going to set up for you doesn't get filtered at all. In other words, if a listing is entered into the MLS system, a search provided to you by a real estate agent who's a member of the MLS is going to have every single home that's listed. That is not necessarily going to be true on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, or other sites. Some agents intentionally do not share listings with those other sites. So keep that in mind. And some of them are not sharing them because they don't realize that they need to go in and set it up to share those things automatically. But for the purposes of making sure you're seeing the most homes when you're actually seriously sitting down to buy, I strongly suggest that's when you look into establishing your relationship with a local real estate agent. Now, of course, these are services that I offer just to show you what I have for you. Now, this is my website. It's soldbyrobert.com. It also has a few other URLs, but that's the easiest one to remember. And if you want to start searching for a home, my suggestion is usually go with the advanced search. This is going to give you the widest variety of tools for you to go ahead and get that accomplished. You can do it by city, if you want to look in San Jose or wherever else. Or if you would prefer to draw on a map, you can do that as well. So for instance, let's say we're interested in a very large area. Let's say we're interested in anywhere from Morgan Hill down to, let's see here, just south of San Martin, up here including the lake. There you go. There's your search. Look for house, condos, or townhomes, or just houses, or just condos and townhomes. Let's say just go with homes only for sales. Let's go with a beds of 3 or more, 2 or more. Let's go 3 or more. And let's go with baths, so 2 or more. Do a search. And you will end up with the results. And you will see all of the homes currently listed that meet your criteria with a map at the top showing you where they're all physically located. I try to set up some quick references for you. So if you're interested in different communities, I have them listed here. You can see just the homes listed in Morgan Hill, San Martin, South San Jose, Gilroy, San Jose overall. Or you can look just for open homes, or you can just look for luxury homes, which are homes just at the higher price point. You can look at homes by price range, and you can also look at homes below average price. And this just does a search on homes that are below what is now considered the average price in the area. And that would be these guys. So feel free to take advantage of that. And the good news is you can get access to this tool, and it's not going to force you to give me your information or demand that you contact me. You'll have to obviously submit your email address in order to get these emailed to you. But it's a good way to start off without actually having to interact with a real estate agent if that's something you're trying to avoid. So feel free to jump in and take advantage of that. But the real goal here is for you to build your knowledge of what's out there, what's within your budget, and start to leverage a relationship with whoever your chosen real estate professional is so that you can achieve that goal of buying that first home or your first investment property. I think a lot of these suggestions will also work for you there. Now, of course, the goal here is always to leave you with more knowledge on the table than I take up in your time. I absolutely hope we've achieved that today. Feel free to reach out to me at soldbyrobert.com if you'd like to ask any questions or start your home search, or if you'd like to list your home for sale, or even get an online instant evaluation of your home's value. There's a tool there right on the front page for you to accomplish that as well. Thanks again for listening, everybody. I'll talk to y'all next time.